On today's DNVR Broncos podcast, we're breaking down how some news in the NFL will impact Courtland Sutton's future with the Broncos in a good way. Plus, we're talking about how the Broncos have a championship formula offseason. And is the AFC West the best division in the NFL after this offseason? It all starts now. Got a new pope, and we've got a new episode of the DNVR Broncos podcast coming to you live for a big day for a lot of religious people, and our religion here is the Denver Broncos, and we are live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores. I've got my pope with me, Andre Simone. We've got you here, and Dion behind the mic, and Zach Stevens rocking and rolling with you today. Dre, I mean, being an Italian, this has got to be a big day for you.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see who it is. You know, it's. I guess I am interested to find out who the new pope will be and write it out. I'm trying to think. I think this would be the fourth in my lifetime.
I have no idea. No idea.
Yeah, I think this would be the
it's
fourth
true.
in my lifetime.
That's
so
fewer popes than presidents, right?
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, they're supposed to live it out.
Yeah.
Second pope in my lifetime, you know, he was kind of a quitter.
Wow.
Yeah, the German guy.
Did he die?
Know. No, he didn't.
Oh,
You're supposed to die on the job, much like us in this podcasting role. We're expected, you know, our dying breaths, we hope will occur live on air with you guys connected to the Toyota chat. But no, that one pope, he just bailed.
So
he was like, you know what, guys? Mental health above all else. And we were like, what? You can't do that.
Your health is our health here.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yep.
So you know what? Let's capitalize off this news right
Let's
now.
go.
Dre, who is the Denver Broncos' current pope? If the Broncos, and you can take this so many ways, but if the Broncos were to elect a pope right now, who is it? Who's their pope?
I think Sean Payton's kind of the man who runs the show, no?
Wow, I mean,
were you hoping for more of a historical figure?
No. I think it's got to be someone right now. I think it's got to be someone inside the building because, as you said, there are many popes throughout.
Yeah.
Is the church an organization? I don't know what it is, but
they seem organized. I don't know if that's the proper term, but in lieu of either of us knowing, let's go with organization. Yeah.
Because I guess let's take a walk through history. Jahdae would have been the Broncos pope at some point, right?
I mean,
you would imagine.
Yes, for many stretches. John has kind of been the Son, the Spirit, the Father, and maybe he's the Holy Ghost right now. You know.
Yes.
I mean, he's played all roles.
He really has. Tim Tebow had to be the pope for a year, right? At least for like that 6 month stretch of he literally was like connected to a Holy Spirit.
Zach, Tebow feels more like a false prophet.
Wow.
Right?
Wow. That's right. He was so special though.
He was. And he ushered in great times.
Yep. Yeah, he did.
Payton, who I don't know, Pope, Savior, Messiah.
He's kind of everything.
Hard to define as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And then were the Broncos without a Pope from 2016 until I don't know when?
Popeless.
That's sad.
Yeah, pretty much. We didn't even have an owner.
Pat Bowlen could have been one.
Pat could have been the Pope.
That time, yeah. Man, it's
yeah,
true.
We were
so
popeless
I don't know if you're throwing out Sean. I mean, I don't hate that one.
It kind of all goes through him, right?
But could it be the Walton Payton group?
Yeah.
Or Walton Penner group? Or maybe they're just God or something like even above that. Could be Bo Nix. Yeah, I guess it does have to be like a leader, right? Because I was initially trying to think like who would, be that that type of spirit. And maybe I was getting too far in the weeds. I was thinking like Mike McGlinchey, Alex Singleton, those sort of guys. But no, the Pope's the top guy, right?
Quinn,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right. I think it's got to be Sean it's got to be Sean. Yep.
He kind of runs the show.
So
who's
like
George in that analogy?
You have to help me out with that one.
Yeah,
all I know is
I
like Pope and Cardinals.
He's one of the Cardinals. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about the structure to really say.
I don't either. And I mean, a lot of people saying PFM. Some people saying Pope Nix the first.
Yeah,
what would Sean Payton's name be? Pope Payton? I mean, come on. It's
Pope
easy
Payton.
enough.
They always take then the name of a saint.
Oh, yeah.
Like Pope Francis. His
Isn't
name's not
his
Francis.
Name. Right.
Yeah.
Is Payton a saint?
Nope.
Okay.
Don't think so. John, Paul, something like that.
Yeah.
Something
So I
like
mean,
that. Peter.
John Elway fit right in.
Come on.
Yep. Is there a Pat?
Don't think there's a Pat.
Okay. Well,
don't think so.
Maybe on this
Patrick.
show, Pope Sertan II, as Ashton in Twitter chat says. Twitter chat having a lot of fun with this. We appreciate
St. Patrick,
that.
of course.
Yeah, exactly.
But is he...
Pope Patrick.
I don't want to get into Protestants again. I feel like I'm this close to going down a real slippery slope.
We'll stop you there, Dre, and we'll go a different path for this rest of this segment right now. There was a trade yesterday, and it has maybe has some impact on the Broncos. But before we get into the impact on the Broncos, Dre, what do you think of George Pickens going to the Cowboys? Because I've seen a lot of takes out there, and I feel very strongly about this. How do you feel about it?
I feel that Jerry Jones, he does some things right, and then there are other things where it's like, oh yeah, he's just running the team how I would.
Oh, right.
Just like a guy who's like, oh yeah, he's a good fantasy player. Let's trade a third for him. No problem.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, it's easy to maybe look at the Broncos draft and be like, oh, for the consensus board, they didn't get great value. But then it's like, well, no, they're just trying to not add guys like George Pickens who would throw your locker room upside down.
I couldn't agree more. Like the fact that they traded a third-round pick for a guy that's going to blow up their locker room at some point. Like, no. You would have to trade George Pickens and a third-round pick for me to want him. Like, what are we doing? And I'm seeing all this spin coming from Dallas, which I understand.
Well, it's exciting, sure.
George, he's talented,
but
he's even not like this great football player. He does so many things on the football field itself that just make you want to lose your mind. Like, what is he doing? Not in a good way, in a bad way. And then you add the head case piece to it. Plus, he's going to Dallas. Plus, he's going to be with Dak. Plus, he's with CeeDee Lamb, who is going to demand tons of targets and catches. Like, I personally love it from this is exactly where I'd want George Pickens to go, for it to just be an absolute show. But now I'm seeing people saying, this makes the Cowboys a playoff team. Are you kidding me? No.
Well, the Cowboys are a weird one in general because just 2 years ago they were a playoff team and very good, but they need to get Dak back. They're replacing a head coach.
Yep.
The other layer to this, Zach, is George Pickens was like that under Mike Tomlin's coaching.
Yeah.
Those head cases who have come out of Pittsburgh and then been removed from Mike Tomlin.
Yep.
Go off the deep end in about 5 weeks.
Gosh, you are so right.
Like AB and Le'Veon Bell.
AB freezes his toes off and then doesn't even play one game with the Raiders. Like that, you're exactly right. That's what happens when they leave.
It goes south so quickly. So
Le'Veon Bell, you're right.
A couple months and this could be just a mess.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And you know what? Actually, to your point, Adam Schefter, that guy, the number one guy in the NFL, Adam Schefter put out a tweet saying, like, he said at first, no receiver has ever left Pittsburgh and put up better numbers after leaving Pittsburgh. Well, he had to change his tweet a little bit because then he said, not many left Pittsburgh and put up better numbers, because there's at least one guy that did, and that's Denver Broncos legend Emmanuel Sanders, who did leave Pittsburgh, who did leave Ben Roethlisberger. He came to Denver and not only put up better numbers and became like a borderline Ring of Famer for the Broncos and a legend here in Broncos country, but one of the first things he did was just trash Ben Roethlisberger. And when he got around Peyton Manning, he was like, oh, it's incredible being around Peyton. And so then he just immediately became a legend right there. But so how this trade might impact the Broncos, I don't believe there was any truth to this, but for the people out there that there was some rumblings, I don't even know where it came from, that maybe the Broncos are going to trade Courtland Sutton to the Cowboys this offseason after the draft. And to me, I hadn't heard anything of those, so I don't think this changes anything. But for those people, this has to kill it, right? Like, they just got George Pickens. They're not going to trade for Courtland Sutton now.
No, that would make sense. Also, I think that's been kind of a common theme of this offseason is the Broncos have inquired and made plenty of calls to just see what's out there, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know that much has come out of it, but they've been active. They've got their finger on the pulse. They've got an idea of what everyone costs and what the price is to move guys around. So I think it's probably not much more than that, you know, similar to what we were hearing on the Cooper Kupp stuff, you know, and what have you. Right. It's like, oh, yeah.
Man.
Just poking around.
Sean would have never traded Courtland and then brought in George Pickens. Like, and
that would have been crazy.
That's the Jerry Jones type of move that you do is you bring that sort of guy in, whereas like the head coach that's running things properly does not make that move. So, poof, Broncos don't have to worry about Court leaving to the Cowboys, don't have to worry about George Pickens coming to Denver. And we're going to continue this conversation with our friend Brian Baldinger after I give a shout out to our friends over they're actually new friends, and we love bringing new friends on because these are our friends over at First Bank. And whether you're on the road or at home, somewhere in between, First Bank makes banking easy, convenient, and secure. Their mobile banking app allows you to check balances, pay friends, and manage your money anytime, anywhere. And the best part, open a new First Bank checking account today, and you can earn $300. First Bank is all about helping you stay on track. Their tools make it simple to stay in control of your finances without the hassle. No matter where life takes you, First Bank gives you the freedom to bank how and when it works best for you. So if you're ready for better banking and the chance to earn a little extra, head to efirstbank.com/bonus. That's efirstbank.com/bonus to open your account. Bank how you want, when you want with First Bank. Certain restrictions and requirements apply. Member FDIC. And remember, that's efirstbank.com/bonus to get your bonus.
Nice. And shout out to our friends at Coors Light who are all about choosing chill. And last night with the Nuggets, that was a classic choose chill night. Like, you knew where it was going halfway through the first quarter. Didn't even have to get through the first quarter. In fact, kept looking up, being like, is the first quarter over? It was not over, in fact. Not great. But, you know, it's up to us. We can just choose chill and say, look, I'm not going to let it get to me. It's one loss. Series is tied 1-1. Still got home court advantage. Nothing to worry about here. Just sit down, relax, grab a silver bullet. Mountains turn blue, refreshing, cold. Made in Colorado, through and through, chill like the Rockies, and you just choose chill, you know? Choose chill, choose to, you know, I just had it on in the background. I can't turn it off. I just can't. It's with our sickness, teams, I just can't do it. You know, I don't want to watch it. But so you choose chill, pulled out the iPad, played a little FIFA, you know, a little FIFA mobile. Yeah. Probably lost a few games online to someone who's like 9. So, but that's okay. That's okay. I choose chill, silver bullet by my side, all was well. Make the most of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado beer. Bang.
Man, Dre, since you brought it up, I sat in this seat right before we started the show and said, Dre, you need to give me hope because I lost all hope last night with the Nuggets. You calmed me down a little bit. I'm feeling better. But last night, what kept flashing in my head was 70-20. Of course, the Broncos against the Dolphins. The fourth game of Sean Payton's career, and I'm just like, this is so bad, so dreadful. But
that was the worst game.
What happened after that? The Broncos defense had the biggest in-season turnaround that has ever happened in the history of the NFL.
That's right, Zach.
They went from giving up I don't know, I think it was 42 points a game, including that 70-point game, to 14 points a game for the next 10 weeks or something. And I'm like, okay, you know what? This team has Jokic. This team has championship energy and mentality and experience. They can flip it around. So that's what's giving me hope right now is Sean Payton, a great leader, was able to turn that team, that defense around in a heartbeat from giving up 70 points to giving up 14 the next 10 weeks. Jokic can do that.
Yeah, 100%. Boy, what a game. That's, I think, the worst Broncos game in their history.
Yeah.
My lifetime, certainly.
It got to the point where it became comical. It was oh, this is bad. Then it was oh my gosh, this is awful. And then I think every Broncos fan just kind of came out of it and was what did I just see? Yeah, this is insane.
Classic example though of how I can't turn one off because I know I was still watching by the end of that one.
Yeah. And what's crazy? That was the Sean Payton era.
I know.
And just how much things have turned around. It is wild. That's a call from our guy, Brian Baldinger. And let's bring him on the show because he is the absolute legend. Baldy, how you doing?
Baldy.
I'm good, Zach. It's good to be with you. Good to be with you as we, I don't know, just a good day to be out in the yard and getting some things planted during the May season here. So nice, relaxing day thus far.
I love it. I love it. And we're entering off-season mode where there's not much of an off-season for the NFL, but now there is an off-season. Baldy, I see you've got a map behind you, and we're going to be taking a trip around the NFL later in this show, talking about if the AFC West is now the best division in the NFL. And so I want to ask you that question. Obviously, there's some strong divisions, but the AFC West has kind of been up there the last few years, and you can make an argument it's as strong now as it's been in a long time.
Well, let's just start with the head coaches in this division, Zach.
Yeah.
Andy Reid has a chance to break Don Shula's record. He needs 47 wins to break the record right now. And then you look at what, Sean Payton has done, obviously, in his tenure in New Orleans and who he's coached under with Parcells, Hall of Fame coaches, and then you look at what, you look what Harbs does everywhere he goes and what he did last year, and now you look what Pete Carroll has done. Is there if in the history of the NFL, is there a better division with proven head coaches than what the AFC West is right now? And then if you combine that with the initial impact that those coaches all made, Sean in the second year, but, you look at what Harbs has done, all chasing Andy Reid. I mean, they all go to the playoffs. And now you got to believe that Pete Carroll is going to put his imprint on this team pretty quickly with what they've just done in free agency and the draft. So I think it's the most competitive division. But, I would say that the NFL is more head coaching driven than any other sport league in any sport in the world. And we see that, and that's the difference. And that's why there's worth so much when you get a chance to hire somebody like Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh or Andy or whatever.
Yeah, it's true, Baldy. And not just head coaches, but quarterbacks too, and this is a division that in the last two offseason has added Bo Nix and Geno Smith on top of it. Is there an offseason move between all these AFC West teams that stands out to you as kind of one of the biggest difference makers in this division, whether that's Geno, Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, something that they've done out in KC or LA?
Well, the Chiefs won 15 games last year with really a revolving door at left tackle. I mean, they've been drafting left tackles now for the last 3 years. If Josh Simmons looks like what he did in 2023 before he got hurt this year, and they get that position fixed, I mean, is Kansas City going to win, what is it, their 9th or 10th division title in a row? I mean, that gives Patrick Mahomes an extra second, an extra tick to go find another receiver. He had 7 fourth-quarter winning drives, including the one against the Broncos. But, I mean, I know they had a chance to kick a field goal to win the game. But, they had 7 game-winning drives. And they had 4 games that were won on the final play of the game. So they're still the team to beat. I think that move is significant. But if Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga, if Hufanga comes back to what he was in San Francisco before the knee injury, like they've got, not only do they upgrade the positions, but you think about P.J. Locke or Jaquan McMillan and some of these guys that have been starting. I mean, they might have the most depth, on defense of any team in this league right now.
Baldy, this might be a weird question, but when I try to think of like how the Broncos defense looks at the rest of the AFC West, I have no idea what the identity of the AFC West is, because on one hand, you have Patrick Mahomes, who's obviously won MVPs, can throw the rock for 5,000 yards, 50 touchdowns. And then on the other hand, I mean, the Chiefs have kind of relied on a run game a little more in recent years. And then the Raiders just added, obviously, a great running back. The Chargers went with the first-round running back. Is this division, from an offensive perspective, when you're looking at it through Vance Joseph's glasses, is it about stopping the run or stopping the pass this year?
Well, there's been a shift, Zach, around the league to stopping the run. And the Eagles ran it, counting the playoffs, they ran it 725 times last year, third most in NFL history.
Wow.
You look at Detroit, you look at some of these teams right now, Baltimore. I mean, you go around the league, and they're running it more than they're throwing it. We haven't seen that. Not to this degree. We can see a team here, an outlier team, do it. Now it's a league trend. So that's one thing. But I would say because the head coaching is so good, the emphasis on taking care of the football has vastly improved. And so all these teams do a great job of taking care of the football. Pete Carroll has always stressed that. So I would say if I'm Vance Joseph, how do we create takeaways? How do we create turnovers? You think about, Surtain and the pick six last, some of the plays that they made defensively. Benito, pick six, fumble recovery, touchdown, whatever. Like those splash plays really made a difference in those games. They're hard to overcome. So I would say the philosophy or what the league, the division-wide trend is taking care of the football and how do you take the ball away? Because when you talk about Kansas City, they have been relying on their defense. The offense has been in the mud for big chunks of the year. Yeah. Defensively, Spags and that group has really carried them the way Vance did last year. And so that Pete Carroll's going to put a good defense out there. And that's what, look, the Chargers went from being the worst tackling team in football to the number one defense in football in 1 year, just because of the emphasis on stopping the run, on doing the fundamentals, on tackling. And they did it with 2 rookie corners last year.
Everything we're talking about, Baldy, really makes me think of the Broncos' approach this offseason. And it seems like depth on the defensive line and the defensive backs is so key, right? And I think that's kind of league-wide. I mean, with all the sub-packages, you basically need 5 DBs who are starters. And because you're relying on 5 starters, you better have at least one reliable backup, if not more. And then I think this has been a bigger and bigger trend as of late is defensive line depth is everything right now in the league because of what you just mentioned, right? Stopping the run, trying to create turnovers, being able to stay on teams late in games. Is that something you're noticing too? And what's a bigger emphasis to you from the front offices you're talking to, the NFL people you talking to? Is it more important to have that depth up front or on the back end?
Well, I mean, it always starts up front. And so, Andy Reid took his philosophy that he learned in Philadelphia, that he developed in Philadelphia. Like, you never stop building in the trenches. The Eagles drafted 3 offensive linemen. They only had to replace one. They traded for another one. And then they had 3 guys that they had drafted in years past that hadn't really played yet. They've got 13 offensive linemen that they either drafted or picked up in free agency. Now, Who's the 9 that are going to dress or 8 that are going to dress on game day? Well, competition's a good thing. They're going to figure that out. But I would say, look, just pay attention to the Savion Jones from LSU. Like these kids that come out of LSU and Georgia every year that don't make a lot of noise while they're because they're just rotating players. Mm-hmm. But but this guy has size and he plays the game violently. I think he's going to fit in really good with them. But yeah, I mean, they kept the starting defensive front. You know, you kept DJ and you kept Zach, and you know, so you bring back the defensive front and then you add to it. And then look, I'm sure when they were sitting there, whatever it was, 20 or 21, and Jahdae Barron was still on the board, I'm sure it shocked George Payton. Like, how's the best corner in this whole draft still on the board? And I'm sure they had other players or other needs that they wanted to address with that pick, but they couldn't. As soon as they made the pick, I'm like, that's a value pick. That's the next best guy on the board. We're taking him. We'll figure it out. Whether Jaquan gets on the field, Riley, whoever, we'll figure that all out. Give that problem to Vance. He'll figure that out. We'll get the best guys back there.
Yeah, I love that, Baldy. And we were talking to Alex Singleton earlier in the week, and he said it's the off season. You got to be shooting for the stars right now. And he said we're shooting to be better than the 2015 Broncos defense, which obviously was the no-fly zone, won Super Bowl 50. And at first it seems crazy, but then you see all the parts and pieces the Broncos have added to this. Who's the X factor on this Broncos defense that would allow them to be maybe not as good as that defense, but the best defense in the NFL this year?
Well, that defense did have 2 Hall of Fame pass rushers.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not going to tell Alex that he's talking out of his mind, but, you know, they don't have that in Denver right now. I mean, they closed out games over and over again. But regardless, I mean, look, if Nick Bonitto can improve upon what he did last year, if Zach Allen is hitting the quarterback as frequently as he did last year, they take their game that we saw last year and take it up a notch, and then you add Dre Greenlaw. I mean, you can't tell if he's run blitzing or if he just reads things that quickly. Like, he is an amazing player. So, I mean, whether Alex comes back healthy or whatever, I mean, they overcame him last year, but, I mean, Alex is a tackling machine. It might be another no-fly zone, which is good, but that's all tied to pass rush a lot of times.
Yeah.
So, can they be as good? I don't know that they're going to close games out the way they did in 2015, including, you know, Carolina Super Bowl. But at the same time, you got to create your own identity as well. And so they're going to get a great opportunity. They got a great defensive-minded coach. They've got all the versatile parts that you need to be elite. And now, you know, how do you affect Patrick Mahomes? How do you affect these quarterbacks where you're getting them off the field? You're not letting them drive the field to win a game in the last drive. Like, what do you have in your repertoire of calls that you can disrupt these offenses when they just got to go 40, 50 yards to go win a game?
Yeah. Baldy, do you think the Broncos did enough to alleviate some of the issues we saw defending the run last season? Obviously, it all really came to the surface in that wild card round against Buffalo. Getting Alex back, adding Greenlaw, Hufanga, some of the depth they've added up front, Barron. Is that all enough, or do you still maybe have some concerns on that end for Denver?
I might, try adding a big fat guy in the middle.
Yeah.
That always clogs things up, that can just wad it all up. Like, I like to have a big fat guy in the middle that, you know, knows his role and is out there in first and second down. You can't budge him, and Alex runs free to go make every tackle available. But Dre and Hufanga are really good players. They're really good. I mean, they're great tacklers. You'll see Talanoa up there in the box, 8 in the box to, stop Seattle's run game or stop the Chargers' run game. He's very, very crafty up there. The closer to the line of scrimmage he is, he has done a good job in the back end too. But I would say that's the only thing that I think the defense might be lacking right now. It's just that guy that eats double teams like cheeseburgers,
A Baldy, final one for you here, and this isn't about a big fat guy, but it's about someone you talked about earlier. Nick Bonitto. Yesterday, DeMarcus Ware on the Kay Adams Show said Nick Bonitto reminds him of a combination of Shaq Barrett and Von Miller. And speaking of high bars to put for a guy, that is just a wild comparison. But it reminded me that, okay, the draft's over. Now the Broncos are going to start talking to some of their own guys about extensions, and Nick Bonitto is at the top of that list, a guy coming off a very impressive season. If you're the Broncos, Brass, are you giving him a $25 million a year extension now? Are you waiting to see what he does the first half of this season? Or do you want to see it for an entire other season and then potentially risk it being, 30, 35, $40 million?
If you so I don't know how Nick is driven. I mean, I don't really know him. So the Eagles have done a great job of getting ahead of the cap with players like Cam Jurgens started 1 year for J.C. Kelsey this year, played very well. They love him, and they extended him. Mm-hmm. If Nick is that type of guy, complete team guy, all about the team, all about getting better, all about improving, if that's what he is, and giving him $25 million or whatever it is it going to change the guy or change his work habits or anything else? If you know that about the guy, the way he's wired, give it to him now.
Yep. That makes a lot of sense. Really appreciate you, Baldy. You're always bringing a lot of sense to this show. Love catching up with you, and enjoy hopefully some time in the ocean this coming weekend.
I'm playing Farmer Joe this weekend, Jack, but I'll be in the ocean next weekend.
Okay, good. I mean, you're on land, you're in water.
I'll give you the tail of the tape for what happened.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Baldy. Enjoy the weekend, and thanks for being on with us.
You got it, guys.
Thanks,
see you, man.
Man, always love our conversations with the man, the myth, the legend, Brian Baldinger. Man, so much there. And let's dive into some of these conversations that we brought up with Baldy after I give a shout out to our friends over at Empire Today. You know, when we have Baldy on, I always know that segment, the floor is just going to be through the roof right there. And you always want to make sure your floor is as good as possible. Yep. And our friends over at Empire Today are going to make sure that you have the best floor possible. I kid you not. I'm looking at our floor right now from Empire Today, and it looks brand new.
Yeah,
and
it's been glorious.
2 years?
It's glorious.
2 years. And I know how, this people in our office operate a little, not always easiest on things, and this floor, takes it like an absolute champ. So whether you have a house full of kids, whether it's just you want to make sure you have the best floors, and Empire Today has the best floors for you. And in fact, not only the best floors, but great deals as well, because you're going to get clear upfront and all-inclusive pricing. Plus, you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. You can schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. DNVR listeners also receive a $350 discount when using the promo code DNVR. You heard that right, a $350 discount with using that code DNVR over at EmpireToday.com. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DNVR for full details on the best floor that you can get.
Wow, I think we have a new pope. But first, Lucy Nicotine, our friends at Lucy Nicotine. 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free. That sounds like having your cake and eating it too right there. Lucy Breakers are nicotine pouches with an extra surprise. You know you like that. Each pouch holds a capsule that can be broken open to release extra flavor and hydration, which in Colorado is a must. Set yourself up with a subscription and have Lucy delivered straight to your door. Yaya was telling us he was rocking 8s. Yaya, favorite flavor? Normal straight. That's cowboy stuff right there. We love Yaya for it. Let's level up your nicotine routine with Lucy. Go to lucy.co/DNVR and use promo code DNVR to get 20% off your first order. Lucy has a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Again, that's lucy.co and use code DNVR to get 20% off. And here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Bless you to Dion.
Am I reading this right? We have the first American Pope?
Chicagoan.
Wow.
So
shout out to our CHGO guys.
Incredible. Wow. Also, first tweet I see after the Schefter notification is Chicago produced the Pope before they could produce a 4,000-yard passer.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
It's savage, but I love it.
Aren't they the only team that has not had that 4,000-yard passer?
They have to be.
Oh my goodness. The odds on that one over at Bet365 would have been
insane.
If you would have got in on this 30 years ago.
Out of this world.
500 years ago?
Out of this world.
Oh my goodness. That is just insane. Okay, Dre. So, unless you got more Pope news for us.
No, he's going by Pope Leo.
Okay.
So I don't.
Okay.
Doesn't sound very.
You're Yeah, it doesn't sound strong, does it?
No, Leo.
Yeah, trying to relate to the kids, the youth these days.
I guess, yeah.
So, Dre, you brought up a very interesting point to Baldy, that the Broncos have followed a championship formula to build their team this offseason. Tell me about it, because that is very intriguing to me.
Yeah, I was just noticing, like, wow, the Broncos went pretty defense heavy with 3 of their first 5 picks being on the defensive side. And then as I was doing all my draft recap stuff, I was noticing that, like, every single AFC contender, minus maybe one, went defense over offense almost across the board.
Wow.
You look at Baltimore, who, for years it's like, oh, they don't have any wide receivers.
Yep.
They don't care.
No.
They're just going to keep drafting the best defenders on the board. That's what they do with Malachi Starks and Mike Green, first 2 picks, and then they get a developmental offensive tackle late in the third and go back to defense in the 4th with a linebacker. Buffalo goes nothing but defense with their first 5 picks, 4 consecutive choices of SEC defenders. Cincinnati, no surprise to anyone, they needed it, right? Cincinnati, the prime example of why you should go defense heavy, because you might have the best offense in the world, and you're not even going to break 500. So obviously, 3 of their first 4 picks rather are defenders. Texans, maybe the team that zagged a little bit. They went 3 different offensive players.
Okay.
To start the draft. KC obviously has gone really heavy on defense in this post Tyreek Hill era.
Yeah.
Yes, they addressed the offensive tackle need, which was the end all be all need, as Baldy talked about there. But they addressed the defensive lines and add cornerback depth with their next 3 picks. After that, let's go see the Chargers. The Chargers a bit of an exception to the rule, 2-2, though they go get their big fat man.
Yep.
So shout out to Baldy on that. Miami needed it like crazy. Miami went all in on defense, 2 defensive tackles with their first 3 picks, and then another corner and safety. So their first 5 picks are 1 offensive lineman, the rest all defense. And it just goes on and on and on, you know? Those are all the real contenders in the AFC. So it's pretty crazy, and plenty of these teams, there's plenty of needs they had on offense too, similar to the Broncos. And it just got me thinking back to like Sean's presser, where he's talking about the best thing to help a quarterback is the running game and the defense.
Yep.
And then that takes me back to so many of the conversations we've had, when we were popeless, as we talked about segment 1, where it was always like, all the bad things that were happening to the Broncos, you needed to add this extra context of like, it's hard to play defense when you're down 10 points like every second half, or it's hard to play offense when you're down, like those circumstances make life so hard. And it really starts with the defense to put you in like game situations that allow you to be successful and not be forced to always be climbing up from a huge deficit. Because it's really hard in football when everyone in the stadium knows, they got to pass the ball to overcome this.
Right.
Or everyone in the stadium's like, I don't know what's coming, because they're nursing a 10-point lead and they can literally do whatever they want right now.
Man, so many good points brought up. And where I want to, just to add to your point, this year the Broncos followed that formula just like the great teams did as well. And it stinks to say this, but it's just the truth. Like the Chiefs have been doing the right thing for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And so would you rather follow what they're doing, or would you rather follow what the Chargers and Raiders are doing? Because the Broncos and Chiefs went one direction. They went defense in the first round. They relied on that. The Chargers and Raiders went the complete opposite direction, and it kind of makes me just laugh at them even more. Ashton Genty, very good player. There's no doubt about it.
No doubt.
But if you get 80% of Ashton Genty and RJ Harvey, you won that by a million miles, because you would have had to trade an additional first-round pick to go get Ashton Genty, and for a running back, that is just too steep to do right there. The Raiders could have traded back and got an extra first-round pick if they wanted to not draft Genty and let someone else draft him, and they decided not to prioritize that. Genty's a good player. There's no doubt.
Really
but then
good.
the Chargers also used a first-round pick on Omari Hampton, a guy that none of us here loved. They used a first-round pick on him as well. So I kind of laugh at those two teams and think, like, thank goodness the Broncos didn't follow in that direction as well. And then I just look, not just this year, but historically. You could go back decades, and it's probably why Sean went defense. Bill Parcells, you got to build the defense first, and that you don't need skill position players. And Sean certainly believes that, specifically at the wide receiver position. And then I just look even a little more recently, but not even this year. What do the 49ers and the Eagles always do? They have stacked defensive lines and front sevens and defenses.
Stacked.
And it doesn't matter. They still just draft a defensive player, and it always works out for them pretty much if they evaluate the guys right. And so it's just like, man, just keep adding. That's the way to just always stay good and relevant. And then the final thing is it also just gives me even more confidence that Sean has all the confidence in the world in Bo, not just being a good quarterback, but being a great quarterback. Because good quarterbacks, they need weapons around them. You need to have weapons around good quarterbacks to elevate them. Great quarterbacks, you don't.
That's
Tom
true.
Brady was great. Now, one year he had Randy Moss, and they were like the best duo ever.
No doubt.
But he did just fine with a converted quarterback and Julian Edelman playing a slot guy. He was just elected in the Patriots, I think, Ring of Fame or whatever that is. Peyton Manning, he made Dallas Clark. He also had some good wide receivers. There's no doubt Marvin Harrison, but then he was able to take a group of guys and really elevate them, or take a guy who no one's heard of and elevate them. Drew Brees, obviously the biggest connection that Sean Payton's had. He just stopped drafting first-round wide receivers because he realized it wasn't working. Took seventh-round guy Marquise Colston, turned him in Michael Thomas, turned him a second-round pick into a Hall of Famer if he wouldn't have got injured. And so that, to me, just gives me more confidence that Sean truly does have the confidence in Bo, not just being good, but being, like, elite.
For sure. I think the other factor in this is, a defense really needs to have 11 starters, 11 players on the field that are as strong as possible, because the weakest link can make everything fall apart.
Yeah, the offense gets to pick on who they want.
The offense can, and the Chiefs are a prime example. Their left tackle was horrible.
Yeah.
But you can cover that up, right? You put a tight end over there. You move the boot to the other side to buy Mahomes more time. There's ways around it. They were without Isaiah Pacheco for most of the season. Again, you're able to overcome that. Find ways schematically to overcome that. Rashee Rice is out for most of the season. You can overcome all those things.
Yeah.
Defense, it's much, much harder. And then the other factor in this is team building. Cap management. Bill Poland's book talks about when they made the switch and hired Tony Dungy, right, at the Colts under Manning. He really went all in on adding offensive guys for Payton on offense and letting Tony do what he does best and make average players play at a higher level.
Yeah.
This isn't rocket science. We're Broncos fans. We grew up watching Mike Shanahan make average to below average running backs and offensive linemen work for his scheme.
Yep.
And I think Sean Payton, you should be able to expect a similar, right? He's going to, his track record speaks clearly. Those skill players, they're almost all drafted from the second round and beyond. Yep. And he was able to turn many of those into very high-end NFL players. So also, it's aligned with what your strengths are, where you are able to maybe create more margins for yourself. And because you have that advantage on offense, you're able to disperse more resources on defense, right? Like it seems like a sound team building plan. And again, the Chiefs with Andy Reid, I think, are doing something very similar.
Yep. And it's Sean's ability to be ultra confident in himself too. Look, I'm going to give Vance all the tools he needs to be great. And then I'm going to hold Vance to that standard. I think I said it on this show a week or two ago. Like Vance, it could very much be that Vance is either a head coach next year or fired because of just like the expectations are that high. And if he lives up to them, he totally deserves to be a head coach again. And I think he's going to be good at that. And if not, I think Jim Leonard is like a defensive coordinator in waiting if things do work out for Vance or if they don't work out for Vance, because I think Sean says, look, we've given you everything. Go make this thing the best that it is right now. And when you point to how you can exploit a hole in a defense, it just brings me back to that Browns-Broncos game. And the Broncos were able to pull off the W because of how good Bo Nix was. But the defense, they were without Riley Moss, and boy, did they expose that hole, didn't they? And it was so obvious to everyone watching, like, can we get some help for Levi Wallace? But the Browns, what they did was they took Jerry Jeudy, slid him in the slot, and that opened the Broncos defense. Sean was furious about it after the game because he thinks that there were some adjustments that could have been made. But you know what? In the moment of the game, the Browns realized that that was something they could do, and they took advantage of it, made Jerry Jeudy literally a Pro Bowler last year because of it. So to your point, one cornerback is out of the game. I think that's a big reason why the Broncos went out and said, we're never letting that happen again. Jahdae, you're here to make sure of that.
And I swear that's been a theme for like 7 years. Like the second one injury happened in that DB room, it was disastrous. You know.
Yeah.
And we probably noticed it less during all those losing seasons. But I remember plenty of times where it was like, oh, geez, so-and-so is out, and now the defense is in trouble.
Yep, exactly, 100%. All right, let's keep this conversation moving to another question that we asked to Baldy. And before we do that, I just want to give a shout out to thednvr.com. So much good content over there from Nuggets, Avs, Rockies, Rams, Buffs, and of course Broncos. We've got you covered on all the fronts. And if you want to become a diehard, we've got an intro offer right now. For under $50, you're going to get a diehard membership card, free t-shirt of your choice from the locker, access to all of our premium written content that I mentioned, entrance to the Discord lounge, discounts at the DNVR bar when you are here for watch parties or anything else, of course, and discounts on all of our events, including our tailgates, which we're going to be having here. We love it if you signed up and became a diehard. And when you do, make sure to tell us in the Toyota chat so we can welcome you to the family officially. I also saw someone in the Toyota chat, Nick, he says, does anyone know we'll get an update on rookie mini camp? Yes, I'm going to be there this weekend, Nick. So the way it works is rookie minicamp is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for the Broncos. They'll be in the building doing things. Rookies will be there starting tomorrow. And Saturday is the day that it's open to media. So I'll be there Saturday. We're bringing out RC to be with me as well. So we're going to give you all the updates that you can possibly get over at thednvr.com. Make sure you're following our social channels, DNVR_sports on YouTube or on Instagram, DNVR Sports, of course, on YouTube, and of course, DNVR_Broncos on Twitter X. So make sure you're following those updates from this weekend. And one more update.
Yes.
I think in the next 24 hours, expect rookie jersey numbers to be announced.
Good. I also saw that question. That's an important update. The people want to know. The people are antsy for these numbers to come out.
Especially if it, like last year, okay, it was, Zach Wilson, I think like 2 days ago, gave up the number 10 so that Bo could have it. So it was like, okay, we know Bo's going to keep number 10. John Elway hasn't given up number 7 for Jahdae Barron or for RJ Harvey. So both the top picks are going to need new numbers. No idea which direction they're going to go.
Better not ask, guys.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that.
What if Bo wore number 7 and he was the first overall pick? Like if he wore number 7 in college, he was the first overall pick. Does John Elway do what Warren Moon did and give up that number for the new kid?
No, just do your thing.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that's right. He's not Warren Moon. He's different. There are some that just shouldn't be touched. And I think that includes Lawrence Taylor's number 56 for the Giants. Is nothing sacred anymore in our world.
I agree with you. But the thing that just makes that crazy is not like Abdul Carter wore number 56 in college.
No, he did not.
What is he doing asking for that? Like, if he wore 56 in college, in high school, and that was his number his whole life, I wouldn't mind him asking Lawrence Taylor for that number. But just to pick a random number and go to the one that's retired, that's the greatest player ever in your organization, what are you doing?
They just think everything's cutesy and fun, and it's like, no, man. Yeah. I really get the feeling that young people are not doing their research. They're not doing their deep dives on our history,
Yeah.
Watch some LT highlights.
Yep. Yep.
It's like, watch Lawrence Taylor, A Football Life. Then you should be intimidated enough to know to never speak to that man.
It's true.
It's ridiculous.
And if you are going to wear the number 27 in Denver, you better know what that means. You're putting on Darren Williams' number, and the Broncos have let some players wear that number. You better know how much that means.
Yeah.
If you're going to wear 24, 1, you shouldn't ask for it. But 2, you should know how great you have to be on and off the field to try to be Champ Bailey, since the Broncos have not retired that number. Same with 30. And I'll give Philip Lindsay all the credit in the world. Man, he knew how much that number meant in Denver. He went out of his way to make a special connection with Terrell Davis. If you want to wear any of these kind of sacred numbers that aren't retired, 88 as well is kind of up there with, or it is absolutely up there with the 27s kind of types of the world. Not only should you be a great player, and one, you probably just shouldn't go that route, be a great player, but you better reach out to their families, make sure they're okay with it. I know when the Broncos are giving 27 away in the many years after Darren Williams passed away, they made sure that every single person that wore that called his family and asked. But I don't want those numbers just like, handed out. The Broncos aren't going to retire them, and they're not even going to do the unofficial retirement. They're going to give them out. I don't want a new person wearing 27 every year. I don't want a new person wearing 88 every year. It's got to be sacred. It's got to be special.
100%. 100%.
They've
has
given
to be
those
sacred.
numbers out, though.
And then on top of that, you maybe should just retire those numbers.
Yeah.
But now you can wear any number you want.
Yeah, it's true. So it does open it up a lot.
Like,
yeah.
Abdul Carter could wear 11. Oh no, is that Phil Simms' number?
I only said no. I mean, still.
Good for that. But again, like, there's a difference between Phil Simms.
Not even close, yeah.
And Lawrence Taylor.
Yep.
There's levels to this.
Yep, 100%.
Same with Darren Williams and John Elway. Like,
yeah. Well,
one could be done. The other one should never be worn by a Denver Bronco ever again.
Yep, exactly. The interesting one, too, now is going to be 58. I don't believe any Bronco has worn 58 since Vaughn was traded from here. Obviously, Vaughn's still playing in the NFL, so they're not going to retire that number yet.
Huh?
Yeah, they do. They gave Pac-Man Jones number 24. Like, I think he was the only one that's ever worn 24 since Champ, and they gave it to Pac-Man Jones. Like, what are we doing? So it
does not exemplify Champ Bailey.
No. So is someone in 10 years, let's say, I don't know, who's an average linebacker in the NFL right now that plays for a different team? Just hit me with one.
Cody Barton.
Is Cody Barton going to come back to the Broncos and wear 58? Like, what do we...
Yeah, that'd be insane.
Yeah, let's just... If they're retired, let's just retire them. Okay.
Makes sense to me.
Let's continue here. And actually, Dre, is the AFC West the best division in football now?
I think so, and I was ready to say by a landslide. Where it gets interesting is... So we were talking about this off air with Hank.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs over the Lions in a landslide. The Packers and Chargers might as well be the same team.
Very true.
So then it comes down to the Vikings with J.J. McCarthy and a defense that was similarly spectacular.
Yeah.
Against the Broncos.
Yeah.
And, Bo Nix here too, and that same defense. I think that's quite a matchup.
Yep.
And who's better, these new look Bears or these new look Raiders?
It's a great question. And honestly, when you first said this, a couple of days ago, my first thought was, no, man, the NFC North's got this. And then unfortunately, I was reminded and realized how much the Raiders have raised their floor, which has raised the AFC West floor. The Raiders... It stinks to say, but they're not. I don't think they're going to be a laughing stock and just a joke and a Josh McDaniels and just out of control like they have been for decades now, honestly, because of Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, I'm shocked he wanted that job, and I guess he wanted to pay. He just loves to live this life of the NFL, which is cool.
Yeah.
But like they're gonna be competent, and some of the pieces they brought in, I think they're not a 4-win team. They're not a 5-win team. They're going to be a 7-win team or something. And that's the worst team in the division. And then the other 3 teams all made the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
And that should probably happen again this year. And right now, if you had to rank it, it's Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers. Chargers with Jim Harbaugh, a guy that only makes the playoffs like as a head coach in his NFL career. That's your 3rd worst team.
Yeah.
I don't believe in Justin Herbert to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I got to see him win a playoff game.
Sure.
But
sure.
Jim Harbaugh's good enough to get them to the playoffs every year. The Bears, their floor is way lower. Are you kidding me? And so, yeah, I think all around, when you look at it, you've got a damn good point, Dre.
Yeah, it's a tough division, man. I also thought all 4 teams kind of killed it this offseason. Like, I think all 4 teams just got better.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a bummer. But also it means the Broncos got better.
100%. And I mean, I think it would have been more of a bummer a year ago or the years prior. Now it's just like, yeah, I mean, you got to compete against the best to be a real competitor. So let's lace them up and see where we fall, you know?
Yep, exactly. And honestly, this might actually help the Broncos win the division, because the Chiefs are going to get beat up in the AFC West by the Broncos and maybe by the other teams as well. So instead of just coasting to a 6-0 record in the division, and then they're 15-2, and the Broncos have a great season and they're 13-4, but they're still 2 games behind the Chiefs. No, Chiefs are going to get beat up, and you hope that the rest of the AFC West beats up the Chiefs so that when the Broncos go 2-0 against the Chiefs and the Chiefs go 1-1 against the other 2 teams, are 2-4 in the division. Boom, that's 4 losses right there. And then the Broncos could win that as well. Okay, we got a couple of super chats, so I'm really happy you brought that point up, Jay, because it wasn't even on my radar. We got a couple of super chats. First one coming in from our friend Brandon, who says, able to catch a live show finally. Let's go, Brandon. Love that. He says, I think Jahdae Barron can be great, but after the Bills game, we spent weeks saying, get Bo help. I hope we did. Love from Philly. Brandon, it's a good point, and I'm happy you brought it up, because saying everything we said, it's not like the Broncos didn't do anything on offense this offseason. Evan Ingram is going to be huge. Like, I don't even know how to put that in words. He is your wide receiver 1, maybe, this entire season. That's how impactful he is going to be for this team. And Sean told him, as Evan told us, he's going to be a vertical threat. So he's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver this year, in my opinion. And then using a 2nd-round pick on RJ Harvey, it's only the 4th time Sean Payton has used a top 100 pick on a running back. Reggie Bush, Alvin Kamara, Mark Ingram, and now RJ Harvey. The other 3 worked out pretty darn good. Yeah. That's kind of the expectation now for RJ Harvey. You better be darn good. So those 2 pieces should really help Bo.
Yeah, I mean, on top of Pat Bryant and the continued development of Mims and Franklin.
Yeah.
I think we get so excited about the rookies, but then we kind of forget about last year's rookies who just naturally underwhelmed because it's their first year in the NFL.
Yep.
But year 2 is where those guys typically make a big jump.
Yep.
I mean, think of like Nick Bonito and Riley Moss and those guys in year 2 compared to what our expectations were after year 1.
Yep.
So I think Troy could really have a huge season. I think Marvin, year 2 or year 3 in the Sean Payton offense could really, like, if you build off of what you saw in the second half of the season, that could be massive as well. In fact, I wonder, them not going after a second rookie running back, even in undrafted free agency, is that more of a telltale sign that Mims is more part of the answer in that running back room?
Wow.
So I don't know, but Ingram is huge. Keeping that entire O-line intact is huge.
Yeah.
And just developing that whole group, having another year on their belt altogether, I think is massive.
And how Parcellians to prioritize the offensive line in Sean's first 2 seasons, then going 100%. Out and getting a couple of big-name wide receivers instead.
Yes.
And boy, that is going to be something that I think we look back on in 10 years when Bo Nix is a phenomenal player and say, Sean Payton did it right by him by giving him protection in the first few years of his career, then giving him
100%.
weapons.
Yeah, big time.
We're going to round out the rest of this show over on Overtime. Go to thednvr.com where the conversation continues online in Overtime. Next super chat coming in from our friend Hojak Borsman, who's, I see what you did there with the name, says, I don't think the third for Pickens is as bad as it seems. They'll get a comp pick if he doesn't stay, and if the offense is good, Pickens will be fine. It is a good point about the comp pick there. So that's good, but I actually I'm not bothered by like giving up a third for him because his career, he's been right around 1,000-yard receiver. Yeah, you'd take that for a third.
He's young enough
any
to
day.
warrant a third.
Yeah, totally. So I don't hate the third. I just honestly think it's like could be more harm than actual help for a team that is like, I mean, new coach. Brian Schottenheimer, he's been a good assistant for so long, but never been promoted to a head coach position. Now he gets this situation where, man, it's not just adding Pickens. Micah Parsons is always in the news, and there's just so much to deal with there. You just add another one of those guys for a brand new first-time head
coming
coach.
back. Travion Diggs, giveth and taketh. I mean, Schottenheimer hasn't really been considered for other head coaching jobs for the past 7 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Not since like Russ was his quarterback in Seattle.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a while ago, guys.
He reminds me of Vic Fangio in the way of like, man, he's been around for so long, so he must be good enough. And to be honest, I don't know enough about Schottenheimer to say like he is an excellent assistant or he isn't.
Right.
Vic Fangio was around for 3 decades in the NFL and high level for so many of those in the NFL and never given a head coaching opportunity.
Pretty crazy.
Even the teams that knew him the best went a different direction. Bless you. Went a different direction instead of going with Vic. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, what do the teams that know him best know that we don't know? Now, I got to say, Vic was fine as a head coach for the Broncos. Was he great? No. Was he disastrous? No, he wasn't. But just fine. And it kind of gives me those similar vibes. Like, Schottenheimer might not be terrible, but, like, if he was great, don't you think he probably would have been hired? I don't know.
Also, so we're clear, he was hired because Jerry couldn't be F to even pay Mike McCarthy.
That's crazy.
Like it was just like, oh yeah, we'll just promote you.
Yeah. Thank goodness the Broncos don't have that type of ownership. Money does not
It
matter
makes
here.
such a difference.
It does.
Such a difference.
And final one coming in from Aiden Garcia, who says, do you think JL Skinner will play safety at all this year? I mean, he's 4th on the depth chart. I mean, he's a good special teamser, but he's going to have to make his way on the team by being an elite special teamer, which he was. But honestly, you hope not. You hope he doesn't play safety because right now the Broncos,
bad things would have happened to the B room,
exactly.
DB room for JL to be. Yeah, I think he's kind of on the outside looking in as far as making the roster this season, right? Like he's going to have a huge camp.
Yeah, I would put him as that 4th safety right now, I think.
Yeah.
So I think he does make the roster, but in terms of seeing playing time, like you're paying 2 starters. You have PJ Locke right behind him, who's very clearly like the first backup.
For sure.
And then you have so many corners that I don't really want to see 3 or 4 safeties on the field. Like, I want all those corners that you have, including Jaquan.
Right.
I want 4 corners out there, 2 safeties
100%.
when you're going 6 defensive backs.
Yeah. And I mean, if you did get to a point where one of your starters was hurt, after PJ gets called up, it might be a Jaquan or a Barron playing in that safety spot before JL gets the start.
Yeah, it's a very good point. But JL was a good special teamer last year, so I do think he'll make the team, and we'll see how that goes. Love the super chats. Appreciate everyone tuning in with us, and have a terrific Thursday. We got one more show tomorrow, 11 a.m. on the DNVR Broncos podcast. We'll see you then.